I don't know much about TikTok. If you were to ask me what kind of content gets uploaded there, the first thing that comes to mind are good-looking teenagers lip-singing to a rap song while dancing or something. That's what my younger sister Liz does, and she loves it. Now, I don't know how many followers she has. That was a joke. She brags about it at the dinner table almost every night. Oh my god, Mom, I just hit 5K. A few more thousand, and I'll have more than Daisy, her fellow TikTok using friend. Do I get the appeal of it? Sure. The appeal is obvious. Doesn't stop it from being lame though. Just my opinion. I was up studying in my room tonight and heard music playing from Liz's room. This usually lasted for an hour or so. She'd film a few dances, pause the music, watch them over, and then repeat the process. I just put my headphones in and let her do it. Business as usual. I remember wrapping up my studies at around midnight and walking down to the kitchen for a snack. Once I descended the stairs, I saw Liz sitting on the couch wrapped in a blanket with all the lights on. Her eyes were red. She looked petrified. Liz? What are you doing? What's wrong? I asked her. She shivered before handing me her phone. TikTok was open, along with the newest upload. I was just watching it over and... She trailed off before finishing the sentence. Fairly confused and somewhat frightened myself, I pressed play on the video and watched it a few times. I didn't get what the big deal was. It appeared normal enough. Well, I suppose her style of dancing was a bit strange. She was jerking around more than usual. Her head was also moving a bit weird. But then again, I didn't know much about dancing. Maybe that was the new thing. I don't get it. If you hate it so much, just delete it. She sniffled and shook her head. No. Look under my bed. What is that? I froze for a second. I certainly didn't like the sound of that. I pressed play again and really focused this time. And then I saw it. A couple of long, reddish fingers had abruptly slid out from underneath before quickly retracting once Liz had finished the dance. I must have looked at the phone for 5 minutes straight without saying a word. Is this a prank, Liz? She shook her head and I was inclined to believe her. Liz had pranked me before and her acting was atrocious at best. This had to be real. Alright, I said. Relax, it's probably... Nope. I had no explanation for something like this. This was bad. I had to think of something quick. Since my dad was stuck working overseas, the only other person in the house was my mom, and I didn't think she'd fare too well against an intruder. Can you stay with anybody? I asked her. Call one of your friends. After explaining the situation to Daisy's parents, they agreed to let my mom and her sleep over for the night. I called the police and explained what was happening to them as well. For some reason, the color of the intruder's hand also made its way into my description. I'm not prejudiced like that, but who the hell has dark red skin? I thought this might incentivize them to get over to my house faster. I suppose it worked. The operator went speechless for a moment before telling me that help would immediately be on the way in something of a shaky tone. I decided to wait there, much to my mother's dismay. I basically had to force her into the car once Daisy's parents showed up. However, I had to make sure the intruder didn't have a chance to escape before the cops showed up. No way in hell that creep was getting away. Well, I hoped it was just a creep and not something else. I grabbed my father's Remington and strapped a baseball bat to my back. I wasn't about to fuck around. I waited by the front door and listened intently for any opening windows. It was pretty silent for the first few minutes, which was good news. But since I'm bothering to write about it now, that obviously didn't last. Soon enough, I heard heavy footsteps coming from upstairs. Oh God, I thought. That meant the guy was big. Whatever. That just means I have a better chance of hitting it. Yeah, my confidence was probably unwarranted, but to be fair, I knew how to shoot. I used to go down to the range with my dad all the time, before starting to go for fun by myself. I also played Little League, so my close quarter combat skills should have been passable. With that in mind, I calmed myself down and prepared for anything. What a fucking moron I was. The footsteps continued before they were accompanied by some kind of deep, intense, guttural noise. I can hardly describe how it sounded. Just the thought of it makes me squirm even now. I was frozen in place as it started walking down the stairs. This creature was something straight out of the most fucked up dimension in existence. It was probably 7.5 feet tall and was glowing crimson. It was apparently skinless, with its muscle fibers exposed and pulsing like fucked up snakes. Well, that description wasn't entirely correct. They were actually centipedes. His muscle fibers were literally comprised of thousands of tiny, throbbing centipedes. Their legs crawled, and their bodies slithered over each other as he moved, making it a sight I'll likely be hard-pressed to ever forget. One of his arms ended in a regular hand, while the other looked like more of a giant, mutated lobster claw. Once he got closer, I realized that it was basically a mouth. There was a giant reptile-like eye embedded into his chest that was staring right at me. It also had some kind of symbol glowing even brighter on its stomach. I can't remember what it looked like to a T, but I do recall seeing a bunch of arrows pointing in towards a circle or something. You might find it curious why I'm referring this monstrosity as he. I mean, how did I even know it was male? Well, his head was far different in comparison to the rest of his body. The head was that of a human male, an attractive human male that appeared to be in his late teens. I might add, looking like a runway model or something, or somebody that would be making TikToks. The sight of this thing confused my brain to no end. He smiled, flashing me a pearly set of whites. Then he waved at me with his claw-mouth arm. I nearly threw up. I raised the shotgun and fired it. I wasn't taking a chance on something like this. It hit him straight in his chest eye, and he flinched slightly. "Show me some fucking respect," he said, before advancing towards me. I may be dumb, but I'm not straight up suicidal. I ran the fuck out my front door. It was good timing as well. The backup had arrived, but to my shock, they weren't cops. Instead of the familiar red and blue lights, there was a black truck parked on my street, with numerous armed men wearing what appeared to be full tactical suits and masks piling out. "Get the fuck out of the way, kid," one of them yelled. I ducked, and they opened fire at him, who'd been right behind me. I crawled down my front steps amidst his guttural screeches and the sound of suppressed rifle fire in an attempt to get away. However, I felt a bulky arm pick me up and drag me aside before I could make a break for it. "Not yet," a deep voice belonging to one of the men said. "We need to ask you some questions." "What? Who the hell are you guys? Where are the cops?" No cops." He shook his head. "Only us." "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" Before he could answer me, he was decapitated, and my dinner found its way up my esophagus and back into my mouth. I just swallowed it. The model demon thing stood behind him, blood dripping from his claw. The men were all dead. He killed all of them in the matter of seconds. I put my hands up instinctively. Please don't kill me, sir." He'd been grinning until I called him the S word. His expression contorted into one of sheer rage. Before he swung at me, I dodged his claw by a hair as it lodged into the side of a parked car. I started bolting for it again, before another vehicle pulled up beside me. "Oh God, what now?" I yelled. It was another truck, but not one of those black tactical ones. This one looked like it belonged on a country album cover. A tall, well-built man with slicked back blonde hair walked out, carrying a shotgun that was at least double the size of mine. "Perfect timing," he yelled, with a heavy southern drawl. He raised the colossal shotgun and emptied 4 slugs into the creature. The model's face exploded in pain as bits of his centipede muscle were chipped off. The man then shot the eye directly, causing it to close up. What the hell is that gun? I thought to myself. The Remington hadn't been useful in comparison. The demon model fell to the ground and the man walked over, before bashing his face in several times with the butt of the gun. Soon enough, it stopped moving altogether. I was sitting on my ass with my mouth agape as this happened. The mysterious man turned to me and gave me the thumbs up sign. Now, I bet you're gonna ask who I am. Fair enough question, but I don't have time to explain. I also don't feel like it, he said, picking the creature up and lifting it over to his truck. He forced it into his truck before covering it with a tarp. Thanks for keeping it occupied, kid. This thing's sure gonna net me a pretty penny. Now I'd share some of the cash with you, but I don't want to. Wait, I called after him. You can't leave. How the hell am I supposed to explain this? Don't worry about that, he responded. They know exactly what's going on here. That's why they sent these varmints. He pointed to the dead men that had come in the black truck. Just run off. They don't know you stuck around like a fool, right? I began trying to stammer out a response. Fine, kid. Stop blubbering. I'll give you a ride. I took him up on that offer. He drove me over to Daisy's house. Before I got off, he told me exactly what I should tell my mom and sister, that the cops had arrived and escorted me away before the intruder had revealed himself, that they'd taken care of it. We were on the same page there. I was gonna flip that story regardless. Now, I certainly don't know what's going to happen in the morning, but for now, it seems like I'm safe, thanks to Jimmy. That's his name. The blonde, southern man with the ridiculous shotgun that's also a bit of an asshole. My mom's certainly relieved. I'll tell you that. She was hugging and beating me at the same time. After she passed out, I sat down and talked to Liz for a bit, trying to comfort her. So everything's fine? You didn't see anything? She asked me, her usual annoying voice now soft and shaky. I nodded before lying straight through my teeth. Yeah, that guy must have jumped out a window and ran off or something. He's gone, don't worry about it. She nodded, not seeming quite persuaded by my story. I suppose my expression wasn't so convincing. I was still completely and utterly horrified after all. Hey Liz, tell me something, I said. What the hell was that dance you were doing in that video? It looked like you were having a seizure or something. I was trying to lighten the mood and it seemed to work. Shut up, she said, laughing. What do you know about dancing anyways? So where do you learn it from? Or were you trying out some freestyle thing? Daisy actually taught it to me, she said. Oh, did she now? Yeah, she said it's gonna be the next big thing and that everybody's gonna be doing it, but I doubt it. Still, she has more followers than me, so what do I know? She also made me draw this weird thing on my arm with a marker. She rolled up her sleeve to show me. I nearly had a heart attack. A bunch of arrows pointing in towards a circle. Oh, shit, I thought. I don't really know what the point of it is, she said. You can barely see it in the TikTok. I just nodded, trying to suppress my concern. Daisy? What the fuck?